Geordie Journos back here at St James's Park. I'm sure a lot of you will have caught Liam on the live where he spoke for a while. Caught Kieran Trippier as well, and a few of the local press pack.
We had Luke Edwards, we had Kieran Trippier getting involved. I did ask him for a word for the Geordie Journos, and he just gave us a fist, didn't he? And
the fist of a
you've seen it,
1-1 draw against Brighton, which what we saw today.
He also thought I was very busy, the fact I was still going when he'd left the ground and come back to the ground, and I was still doing it. But it's all for you guys out there.
But a lot of build up to this game, an important game, Newcastle's last home game, where you're thinking 3 points puts them well on the way to getting in Europe. Didn't quite do that today. Joel Veltman turned in early on, put Brighton ahead after Newcastle made a decent start to the game, actually, I thought anyway. And then Sean Longstaff, his second goal in as many games, draws Newcastle level on the stroke of half time. And then Newcastle huffed and puffed, tried to find a winner in the second half, probably saw the majority of the ball, and I wouldn't say they had too many opportunities though. I think in the final third it was really lacking in general, and overall it's a frustrating day and a disappointing day in some ways, a missed opportunity to really put yourself in the driver's seat in terms of European qualification. But a point means it is still at least in Newcastle's hands. They go into the final two games sitting sixth, and all they have to do is outperform Manchester United and Chelsea. They don't have to look at results elsewhere unless they are to drop points in the final two games.
Just puts the pressure on two away games when it didn't have to be like that.
Yeah,
Newcastle could have got 3 points today and it could have, say, took the pressure off out of them two games, but Newcastle now are going away from home where, okay, they won last time out of Burnley, but they've naturally struggled on the road this season, so it's still in Newcastle's hands, but I think today's result wounds the European hopes a little bit. But it was, the performance itself, I just thought there was a lot of off days from a lot of players, particularly in the final third. I'll go to starting near the back with Tino Livramento. Got forward well, but his final product today was really poor. There was so many times he got down that right hand side, got in a great crossing position and ended up pulling the back to nobody. I think that happened about 3 or 4 times in the second half off the top of my head. And then you can even probably say an Anthony Gordon. People will probably disagree, but I thought, and in the main, Anthony Gordon had a really off-colour day. He was brilliant for the first goal, the way he slipped the ball into Elliot Anderson, but there were so many times he got into so many good positions and tried to do too much, which isn't really like him. He's usually quite decisive in the final third, so I thought his decision making was a little bit off. And then of course Alexander Isak, which was later revealed that he'd been suffering a little bit of illness in the build up of the game. You could tell he wasn't at full tilt, so he came off, which at the time was a questionable decision, but if he wasn't 100%, then of course you have to bring him off. And then the 3 substitutes that came on really struggled to make an impact, particularly Harvey Barnes, who I thought didn't get a kick at all. So quite like
he got two poor kicks.
Well, sorry, he missed a sitter. Well, I say a sitter. He missed from close range, but every time he tried to take on his fullback, he just couldn't do it.
Him, didn't he?
Got a yellow card.
So I just think a disappointing result. A lot of off days for a lot of players, but still in Newcastle's hand. But it's the 2 away games that I don't like relying on away games just because of Newcastle's form this season.
I think my thoughts on it very much, I think it's been a weird one. It's been a very strange season, full of twos and fro's, ups and downs. I always feel like Newcastle have been playing catch up at every stage this season. They've always been stretching to be where they want to be, and it's probably only been in the last couple of weeks where you felt like, no, they've got 2 hands on this. This is all in their own hands. And as you mentioned, it is obviously still all in their own hands, but it feels like some of that grasp loosened today. It feels like something that was in absolute control, and Newcastle had a buffer where it allowed for an error or allowed for a mistake. They've just used their life up today. They've used a little life that they had. That buffer now could be nothing, depending on what happens in other. It's difficult this because let's timestamp it. We're actually recording this whilst Nottingham Forest Chelsea's just kicked off in the second half when we started. So who knows? Depending on how long we stay on this, it might.
We might see you.
If it's less than 40 minutes, it'll take up the second half.
That's how
He just needs to make sure that he doesn't add too much on at the end, and we'll get a result before the end, and we might actually be able to just suddenly end the video with what a result! That's absolutely fantastic. No, I'm very disappointed. I think it was flat today. I think there was too many players didn't have a great game. Newcastle have threatened that even in their big wins recently, you know. It hasn't always been fluent and as big as the score lines had suggested. They were poor here last time out for 50 minutes against Sheffield United and got punished to an extent. There was elements of that today. You know what you're going to get from Brighton, who I didn't think were great either. I think a clinical Newcastle United wins that game 2-3, 4-1 again, the way that they've been scoring goals. There was no quality today in the final third. When you think the players Newcastle have, that seems strange to say it. I think you can go through a full team and barely find anybody you could say was much more than a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. I think Lewis Hall would have a good shout to say he was probably one of the better players on the day. Beyond that, it was a well-off day for Isak. It was a. I can't criticise Anthony Gordon too much in some respects because he was always the threat. But just let himself down with his decision making or his final pass, or even it was a fantastic one for the Longstaff goal by the same token. Elliot Anderson, we're not seeing that ability and quality at this level. It just isn't coming. I talked about this on the live that he's in many ways grasped his opportunity, but I would only say done it with one hand in this run-in. That he's grasped an opportunity to show that he has value in this team and can be used, but he hasn't grasp the opportunity to be a match winner or show any final third ability, which we've seen at lower levels and for all the way through his youth development. So I think he's grasped a squad place with one hand and shown he can be a robust workhorse in this team who's physical and strong and works very hard for the rest of the players around him. But has he really grasped an opportunity to say, look, I'm a definite starter for you next season? I don't think he probably has. Bruno tried to be all things to everybody today, and it was one of those where it didn't quite work out for him. Sean Longstaff, I think, has steadily improved actually as the season comes to a close. His second goal in 2 weeks. He obviously got taken off today, but just purely to get Joe Linton on the pitch. Joe Linton came on the pitch, I thought actually had a negative impact on the midfield balance. I don't think Newcastle were quite the same when Joe Linton came in, and that's no reflection on the player himself. I thought Harvey Barnes, like you say, was poor off the bench. I didn't think he impacted the game in a positive manner. There wasn't much else in terms of substitutions. Lewis Hall stood out. Emil Kraft lacks. Newcastle United lack a Fabian Schär, and that's probably one thing I would say you have to address next season is Schär's not getting any younger. He might pick up the odd injury. How do you replace that ball-playing player in the back line? Yes, they've got lots of injuries, but again, and Botman can do that, but he's out for a long time, so Newcastle need to go and sign somebody who could fill in if Schär's not there, because there was a lot of times today when Emil Kraft got the ball and was just unable to produce any kind of forward-thinking quality. I seen Elliot Anderson making the same Joe Linton type line-breaking runs, and he's never going to get found. You've seen Jacob Murphy peeling out the right-hand side. He's not going to get found. It's a very distinct skill set that Fabian Schär has, and it's hard to replace, and Emil Kraft isn't that. Dan Burn, I thought, lived on the edge a bit today. I actually thought if he didn't have 6 foot legs, he would have got caught out a few times, to be honest. I didn't think his touch was poor. He defended reasonably well, but I think Livramento, as you mentioned, that's probably the biggest. He's a young player who needs to improve in certain areas, and for all of his athleticism and good defensive qualities, I think one thing that he's going to have to massively improve upon, and I think it's one thing that people overlook when they talk about the Livramento Trippier argument, which I've always said on this channel, is Trippier's final third quality massively outweighs Tino Livramento's. So despite you get a lot more running and athleticism in that respect, he's no Kieran Trippier. He's just a totally different kind of player, and I think we're probably going to see a bit more Trippier in those final 2 weeks, and I don't think it'll be a bad thing because he's a fantastic footballer that can only add value, assists, and potentially we could do with a couple of goals from him as well because he's got that in his locker. Martin Dubravka never put a foot wrong, I didn't think.
Good save to deny Danny Welbeck for making it 2-0, I thought.
Yeah.
When he got played through.
And actually, what Martin Dubravka has done in the last couple of weeks is steadily make it very difficult for Eddie Howe to bring Nick Pope into the team. Yeah. Because I would think it's actually a difficult decision now, where probably a few weeks ago you would have snapped your hand off for a half-fit Nick Pope to be in the team. I actually think Dubravka's dealt with the pressure of having Nick Pope breathing down his neck reasonably well, and I can't really fault him for his performance today. I think the manager, did he get things right? Did he get things wrong? I've seen some people criticising the 4-3-3 in the live, saying Newcastle too predictable. I think he picked the right team. I probably, if given the same deck of cards, I probably would have dealt it the same as what Eddie Howe did. I didn't really think they got much wrong. Brighton play a very distinct way where they do invite the pressure and then play the straight direct ball up to the centre forward. It was what's the centre forward called who tore apart down there? Ferguson.
Yes.
It was him down on the south coast. It was Welbeck today who you fired the straight ball into. I think Newcastle got to grips with it. When I was criticising Kraft before, I think Kraft took a while to get used to those direct balls. Probably towards the end of the game, dealt with them reasonably well. Struggled with it for large parts of the first half, start the second half. But they're missing. They're getting players back at the moment, but they're still missing key parts. It's almost like the incomplete jigsaw. It's never had all of its parts this season, and certain days like this where you need to call upon different skills just to unlock doors. Fabian Schär would have been perfect today, and you didn't have anybody with any passing quality to find those runs and to find those people out wide and running between the lines today. So yeah, it wasn't a great game. I think a neutral watching it wouldn't have been that impressed with either side. A lot of bits and bobs in the middle third, but at either end lacking. A game severely lacking, and it's a game when Newcastle needed to produce that today, and they were found lacking. It's sad. Like I say, I feel like they've lost their trump card. Their trump card was that you win this home game, and then it means that you potentially might not have to win anything going into those final two games. Now it feels like they probably have to definitely win. I'm not sure I'm saying this right, but I'm not saying with any certainty because they could actually lose both games and still be fine, depending on the results of the other teams. But really, let's be honest about this, the direction of travel, it means they're probably going to have to win one of them. And going to somewhere like Brentford, even though it's been a reasonably happy hunting ground for Newcastle United in recent years, isn't an easy place to go. It's always been a tough game. They've got some decent players, nothing to play for on the last day, of course, but these lot had nothing to play for today. It doesn't always work out like that. You don't always get the white flag and the surrender when teams don't have anything to play for. Sometimes you get the opposite, and Brighton have done that in the last 2 weeks when they went and got results against, it was Aston Villa last week, wasn't it? Yeah. And then come to St James's Park and got a point. So the white flag doesn't necessarily go up just because you've got nothing to play for. Manchester United look like they've been waving the white flag for about 6 months, but they're a different beast against top opposition. Sometimes they can produce performances. I wouldn't say Arsenal winning there as a given tomorrow, and then I would not say Newcastle United winning at Old Trafford as a given. Even though Newcastle are playing better, have at the moment better players in better form. Manchester United, it is Manchester United at Old Trafford. Newcastle have had better teams going there and not been anywhere close to getting results. And it's history tells you that having gone 50 years with 2 wins, 50 or so, whatever it may be, 5 decades with 2 wins, it would be some ask to go and do the same in 5 months, 5-6 months after 5 decades. I think 2 wins in 5 months is a big ask, but it can happen. It's a different game of football. It can happen. I don't want to sound too negative because it is still in Newcastle United's hands, but it feels like they're needing favours now. It feels like we're now looking at other people's results saying, we need that to happen, rather than it's a bonus if it happens. We kind of need Forest to get something. We need, I can't say that. That's going to date really badly by the time people watch this video.
You can't say that.
We need Manchester United to. Do you want to cut that?
Doesn't matter. You've recognised that it was a stupid.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't know what happened in that game, but we'll just carry on. We need Arsenal to go to Manchester United and win, and if Arsenal go to Manchester United and win, then ultimately this doesn't look like the worst point in the world, provided Manchester City, which I think they will, win the FA Cup.
Yeah, it's all hypotheticals. It could become a good point. It could become 2 points dropped.
Doesn't feel like a good point, does it?
It doesn't yet, or it doesn't at the moment. Like, I think if you go and get something at Man United, even a draw, that could be enough. You're going into that last game just knowing, right, a win, maybe even a draw could be good enough. So I think all a draw does is keep it in Newcastle's control.
They've done the bare minimum.
They can't drop lower. Yeah, they've done the bare minimum to stay the front runners, if you like, but it just doesn't feel like they
doesn't mean nothing. I think they were like odds-on favourites almost going into this game. If you're a bookie, you'd look at it and say they are the favourites. They're the team. Their odds have gone a little bit, haven't they? They've drifted.
Slipped slightly.
Yeah, they've drifted because they've gone from probably odds-on favourites to still favourites, but not easy.
It's very much a 3-horse race, as it usually was, but it's become a lot tighter now.
You always run through the scenarios, don't you? I think we've all been guilty of that, where you're like, God, mate, you only need a point at Old Trafford because of what happens in it. You just look. Ultimately, you've got to do your own business, and what Newcastle United didn't do today was at the bare minimum. They didn't do the business they came for. They didn't come to St James's Park for a point today. They came for 3. So it's okay to be disappointed, and I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of disappointed players going home tonight feeling exactly the same.
One disappointed player, which we all noticed.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what people think, so do jump in the comments and let me know if you were here at St James's Park. What did you think of Bruno Guimaraes' reaction? I don't know if anybody wants to talk us through, give her like a step-by-step of what we saw, literally right, probably only 20 yards in front of her.
Yeah, well, as soon as the full-time whistle blew, he goes sort of on his haunches, then sits down. It's what I'd compare it to is if a team had just been relegated from the Premier League. That was like his reaction.
Or lost a cup final.
The way he was sat on the pitch, quite upset, quite emotional. Don't want to stir the pot too much. Why he was doing it, we don't know.
We don't know.
He disappointed Newcastle dropped 2 points, or is there any other reason for it? We can't say, we don't have the answer. We didn't speak to Bruno. But when you see someone upset, disappointed, naturally a human reaction is to be concerned for that player, and I think we were just all thinking,
all three of us eyes were fixed on Bruno, because it was more than that. It wasn't just it carried on, didn't it?
It kept going, and I think until his 2 kids and partner came on the pitch, that's only when he started to actually get a smile on his face.
Graham Jones went over to him, try to bring him round. Anthony Gordon spoke to him. Kieran Trippier did, and there was no reaction, no words, no reaction.
Distanced himself.
He very much distanced himself from the group, stood alone when everyone else was with their families. Then on the walk around to talk people through that, he held back. Didn't get involved. He's a guy who thrives off that connection with the fan base. He was not front and centre. He held back around 20 to 30 yards. And he was also at the end of the walk around, where he only gave a few light hellos to the fans and thank yous, where he was carrying his youngest for the majority of the second half of the walk, particularly at the Gallagher end. But then, as you were about to say,
one of the first down the tunnel.
He was one of the first down the tunnel.
Bruno is the one player who, one of the reasons why the fans love him, he does lap it up. He does really embrace the St James's Park atmosphere, which I thought for the most part, considering it was a disappointing performance, was fairly good today, helped by the weather and wall flags, certainly before the game. But yeah, Bruno is usually one of the last out on the pitch, particularly if it's a positive result, and I think maybe the result today and other things, you never know, probably just got to him a little bit.
Only he knows, Jordan.
Yes.
Only he knows what he wants to do this summer. And this isn't us stirring the pot. We're actually just remarking on what we've seen and trying to give a sense of what we believe he could have been. Or not even that. We're just telling people what we saw. Really.
So I mean, if you want my opinion on it, I don't know this for facts, but I just believe that he was just genuinely disappointed with the result.
Yeah. He's an emotional guy.
Because as you just spoke about there about
you're dropping off the screen.
I'm dropping off.
Somebody said we need to stand shoulder to shoulder. Really? Do you think we could get these shoulders all in here? No,
you can fit Domin, but we got to squeeze it on.
I'm at an angle.
Yeah.
Need to go back.
Right. Bruno reaction. I just thought you were disappointed with the result. I think it's a mentality thing. I think, as you've just spoke about there, it felt like Newcastle lost a little bit of grasp on the European spots today, and he probably felt that as well. I don't think it's got anything to do with the wider picture in terms of his future or whatever. It's all speculation. I just think he was a player that was disappointed that he couldn't win a game of football, and ultimately the final game of the season as well. I'm sure as a passionate player what he is, he'd want to send fans home happy, and he'd want to be the star man in the front and centre. Yeah. That wasn't how it played out today, so I just think it was natural disappointment.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking from a future perspective, thinking out loud. If Bruno in his head was like, oh, this could be my last time here at the club, he would be emotional, but he wouldn't be distant. He would be lapping it up. He'd be waving. I don't think he'd be first down the tunnel. That's just not the type of person.
I think the shirt probably would have went in the crowd. There would have been.
you would have
Possibly,
experienced
maybe
it
a
a
little
little bit more. So I'm trying to take the positives. I think, if anything, Jordan probably raises a good point where you're probably reading it to anyone thinking, oh, future concerns, maybe reading a little bit too much into
Well, we all
it. But maybe
watched
I'm
him,
just trying to be positive.
No, I don't think so, because I said that straight after when we've seen him do it. He's an emotional guy. We've seen the guy come off the pitch in tears when he's had a little knock. I think he thought his season was over. I can't remember what game it was or when it was.
Fulham last January.
Was it last January? He looked like his season was over the way he came off in tears, and then he was playing about 2.5 days later. He was absolutely fine. He's an emotional guy who feels everything, and I think that's why we love him so much as fans, as journalists, as everybody associated with the club, is because he gets it, because he's got that connection. It's so rare you get footballers show that much of themselves and show that much emotion. Look, he plays to it a little bit, I think, but I also think a lot of it's genuine. People can see through acts, and I think he's a genuine, honest footballer who leaves everything out on that park. And I think when he sat down on his backside as soon as the whistle went, I think it was genuine disappointment that he felt this was almost the day when Newcastle United won European football, and they missed that chance. They missed an open goal today to beat a side who had nothing to play for at home, with a crowd all behind them, with everything, the fair wind with them, lovely weather, great chance, big crowd, people lapping it up. I was a little bit later to the game than you two guys today. And I walked through some of the past Shiraz. I've never seen Shiraz chocker like what it was today. You couldn't see.
I thought you said you'd seen Alan Shearer. I'd walked past all these Alan Shearers.
I wouldn't have walked. If I'd seen Alan Shearer, I wouldn't have walked past. I would have been down on the floor going, legend. I wouldn't. I'm not that unprofessional, I don't think. Maybe. I walked past Shearers. It was incredible. You go past the Irish Centre, you couldn't get moved edgeways with people coming out in and out that door. You come past all of the regular haunts, in and around the top of Chinatown and Rosie's, etc. They're absolutely rammed, more rammed than they ever have. I've seen them in a long time. Everyone was out today. Everybody had a couple of drinks because of the lovely weather, and it was just all with Newcastle today. It was loud. Everyone was ready to celebrate, and that's another reason it felt like a balloon popped, like a bubble popped today. It was all set for them to go and grasp this, and they missed that opportunity. I watched with a laser focus as well. I gave everybody the chance on the live, although you'd probably have to zoom in if you could. I couldn't have done that on the live. We watched as Bruno left the ground with Joe Linton. He did give a little look around at one point, but I don't think he was doing this is it. I think he was looking up to the boxes,
Right.
because him and Joe Linton were there walking out together without their families.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was maybe looking to say, oh, they're still up there. So I wouldn't read too much into that. But I think it's only natural that you do look at these things and probably read into them a little bit much. Right, we're still going. What's the minute? 71. It's right. So we've got to do it.
No,
20 more minutes.
Honestly, I've
gonna
got
talk
nothing
about?
else to talk about after Bruno.
They love you, man, Jordan.
I don't know what else
Give
to
the
say.
people what they want.
Let's not flog a dead horse.
Should we talk about favourite press boxes again?
So it's ones each as we still sit here.
19 minutes left plus added time, so it doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter. Callum Wilson, Alexander Isak, players like that. We've got them to talk.
Well, what about Bruno? I want to continue on Bruno.
Okay. We've still got those topics to discuss, though.
We have.
I'm still talking about Bruno.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Do you think? I'm going to ask this question to both you guys. I want some passionate answers.
Oof.
Is he going to be Jordan first? Do you think Bruno Guimaraes will, after what? So let's use the context of what you've seen today and what you know and everything we've talked about before. Do you think you'll? Oh, why don't we do it together? We'll do one together. So that's the question, right? Do you think Bruno Guimaraes will be a Newcastle United player the day after the transfer window is closed? 3, 2, 1. Yes. Hey, there you go. There's your Geordie Journos verdict. We do keep it entertaining, or try to. So let us know in the comments, you guys, what do you think the future holds for Bruno Guimaraes? There's lots and lots of time to go by. There's lots and lots of twists and turns. I'm pretty sure we'll see a daily story of Bruno Guimaraes to X, Y, and Z in the next few weeks. But the Geordie Journos think he's probably going to stay.
With an asterisk.
It's got to. We're not saying he will. We don't know this. Is when
he gets sold, people clip up this Bruno will stay from us.
But we didn't
It's
say that, though.
No.
Do
Well,
you
he will.
think? Do you think? I
Yeah.
think the balance of probability, as I've said before, is there is only a certain amount of football clubs can afford him. There's only a certain amount of those clubs will want him, and there's only a certain amount of clubs that need him. So I just don't. And there's probably only a lesser amount of clubs that he would go to or he'd leave this project for. So
I didn't think this until today, but I think the European qualification factor is massive.
dear.
And Bruno, yeah, because
Because of his reaction today as well.
Well, possibly, yeah. But I just think I didn't think that initially. But next season, if Newcastle didn't have European football, a year out of Europe for Bruno, I can't imagine he'd react to.
No, not when he's 27.
We've said that
next
before.
season.
It's the big difference, isn't it? How much longer does he stay at this project if they're not delivering what they kind of said they would deliver? Maybe
It's ultimately a backward step, isn't it? So even though there's a lot of caveats with this season, injuries, I think if Newcastle finish top 6, it's been an outstanding season in a lot of ways, considering they've had, I think, 9 players miss 20 or more games. I did a story on that earlier this week. It's been...
Have Chelsea had more minutes missed this season or something, or more games missed from players? I think I've seen something. Someone
It's not
peddling
days
that
missed.
stat. Is not days missed. Someone peddling that stat recently, and I was actually quite surprised by it. I know they've had certain players who they just seem to have about 8 players out every week now. When Newcastle
It's
have
the
gone
same
through,
number as Newcastle last
is
time.
it? Was it?
Yeah. 8 players out.
Right, I'm gonna have a quick jump in here, guys. Before we talk about, you wanted to talk about Callum Wilson and
Isak. It's something
Isak.
you covered on the live, or we covered on the live
Yeah, it's
briefly,
true.
but it's certainly a talking point.
so just want to say, like, all the Geordie Journos videos, as you see in the corner, will it be that corner? Will it be that corner? I'm not sure.
Above my head, I
Right,
believe.
going above that one. Right, we do have a sponsor here at Geordie Journos, so it is Four Rivers Financial Planning, providing holistic financial planning on pensions and investments. What I will do, as we did with the last video, we'll put the sponsor bio in the bio below with the website and where to contact. If we talked about PSR last time. I don't know if you want to contact them with PSR questions, but if you do want your pension sorted or you need some advice, they're the guys to go to. Just like us, the best in the northeast. The best in the northeast at pensions and investments. And we're the best in the northeast when it comes to YouTube.
This new mic's gone to your head. We've got a new mic channel. Our YouTube channel is the best ever. We are the best.
It's all the praise that we're getting now. It's gone to my head. Everyone's like, "Oh, I love your sound. It's lovely. It sounds so good." Apart from it getting it in one ear sometimes, but apart from that bit, we'll forget that bit. Everyone likes the sound, and I'm impressed. Oh, I think we're good. I think we're good.
I don't disagree, but
I think we're good.
I'm just
I think we're good.
I do.
Sorry, guys.
Can you hear me?
Oh, that mic's lovely.
I sound like that guy. We never clipped that up.
What?
The guy at
Palace.
Crystal Palace.
We love you. We love you.
Do you want to do a rendition of Bladen Races? Yeah, in front of everyone.
Dude.
It's a part of the video where it just descends into chaos.
It does happen.
It's the
Oh,
Geordie
no, no.
Waffle segment, isn't it?
We've still got 15 minutes until Chelsea's game's finished.
What's the score?
Ridiculous. Oh, I've got a missed call.
No?
No, it's 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Alexander Isak taken off today. 25 minutes left to play. Newcastle need a goal. What's Eddie Howe doing? Well,
It felt odd, didn't it?
yes.
I think everybody was like, there was a collective groan around the stadium.
Yeah,
like,
it was
Groan
like
of
a,
surprise. Is
I was like, what? But he did explain it, didn't he?
Yes. Alexander Isak was ill on Friday and not 100% today. Eddie Howe even said that you could tell, which I think...
Was he ill
Watch
against
it.
Burnley? Because I didn't think he was very good. I didn't think he was very good against Burnley either, was he? Even though he scored.
But I think we were saying that before, where Alexander Isak has had this Premier League Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season nomination, and has scored all these goals. But the amount of times he's had games where he has scored goals, but not being probably in Newcastle's top 3 players in the game. He's just been a great goal scorer for Newcastle this season.
It's just class, huh?
And he's got a real quality and swagger when he plays, to be fair. But I'd say, as we saw, Anthony Gordon's won Newcastle's Player of the Season, and I think that's thoroughly deserved because he has.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, he's won the Player
Oh,
of the
did he?
Season. Eddie Howe dropped a hint yesterday because he went, I'm
Right.
sure Anthony Gordon will receive award recognition before the end of the season, and then lo and behold, he gets Newcastle's Player of the Season.
I think that's deserved,
fair, isn't it?
isn't it?
Totally deserved.
I think Isak lives the life of a striker. I think it's
Yeah.
in some ways it's it's one of the hardest positions.
Well, look
in
at
football.
Haaland this season.
Oh no, the amount of
Haaland's
people
scored 25 goals a season,
and he's been written off more than anybody. And it's the life of a striker. Sometimes you'll have games where you will not get a kick, and it's just, even in good teams like Haaland will not get a kick because the way that the team plays, the defensive line's so deep and no space, and Isak struggles at times to influence games. It's the life of a striker. It can happen. It doesn't take away from his quality, but I actually thought he was less influential today and at Burnley to an extent than we'd seen for a little while. I just don't think he's almost, his goals have continued. You can't complain, and that's if he keeps scoring goals and playing badly, you'll never get a complaint from anybody.
Badly's harsh.
No, I wasn't saying. No, sorry, I wasn't saying. That's not me saying I think he's played badly. I'm saying if he was playing badly but kept scoring goals, then you wouldn't get a complaint from the 52,000 people in here if the guy is off form but scores a hat-trick, which still eludes him, and he was nowhere near getting one today. One opportunity where he rounded the keeper, was that about it?
Yeah.
Not much else.
Good ball by Bruno, yeah.
But they missed that
and then
today.
he put a ball in which Lampert Hugh, I think, nearly turned into his own net.
Yeah.
That was probably his best moment of the game, Isak, where he had to move out wide to actually get any sort of joy, really.
I'm proper on edge now.
Why?
Because watching this...
you want to somehow flog... Oh!
Forrest has scored!
Yes!
It's going to age even more.
It's going to age really badly. We'll have to see it through now. Hudson Odoi against his old club as well.
I know, I'm sure he had
74, what's the time? 12 minutes to go. Come on! I'm in this.
We're like those watch-along channels where...
This is the Geordie Journos first ever watch-along, where you guys are probably watching this knowing the result like 12 hours time, but you're actually seeing the live reaction of the Geordie Journos.
Yeah.
I think we've got to see it out.
Yeah, even if we're just
going to have to waffle.
I'm going to stand here and look like a giant wrestler because I'm fighting to be in this camera here.
Come in the middle, I'll go on the
cut
outside.
off the sponsor, Jordan.
I know you will. It's going to be on your forehead.
You're sponsored by Four Rivers.
Haircut sponsored by Four Rivers. We've had lots of talk of haircuts. There was even mentioned in the live. Somebody even suggested, because I said, you keep mentioning these two guys' haircuts when they got their army regulation trims down the side. I said, I can't say anything because I'm losing my hair. And then they're all coming in and say, get yourself a turkey, Liam, get yourself a turkey.
We'll
wait for fingers crossed we'll get Besiktas in the Conference League next year, and I'll be able to go over and get me little the poke around, fill these bits in and make this gap at the back, which you don't see much on the Geordie Journos, but you will from behind. There's been a lot of talk of hair. You took it well. You got slaughtered over your haircut at Burnley.
It
was harsh.
It was fine. It was a last minute job, and 15 minutes before closing I was like, just trim it all off, and then it was like a half done job, like left it all on the top.
It's growing in now.
Ah well.
It's blending in.
What about you? I can't believe we're talking about haircuts.
Geordie haircuts
through the end.
Not Geordie Journos.
My haircut was too short this time. I don't usually go that short, but it is what it is. It grows back.
You probably look like your dad.
I look like my dad.
I seen it when I watched our video back the other day. I was like, God, he looks like his dad. You do?
Right. Oh well.
I think it's for the short, like really short at the sides. You do look like your dad.
My dad is grey.
Yeah.
It's not totally bald, he just shaves it.
Yeah, he shaves it, yeah.
People will be watching this just going, what is going on?
No, so just saying about the personality that the player, you know, these last final days where, like, obviously we see it on Instagram, we see it on social media, that a lot of people share their lives, and you see little bits of players with their families, etc. I think that's one of the things that this day does give you, is that personality. So you'll see the kids running about. We've seen Joe Linton's little one who was taking everybody on. There was some tackles going in, and there was holding off their young ones. And I think it gives you see their other halves and the family dynamic. And I think that's quite nice. It builds a connection. It just didn't feel like the day for it today because it was so underwhelming, the performance on the pitch.
Just to get back to the football, I thought it was interesting.
Sorry,
I mean,
I would have talked about haircuts. I don't know about you.
We can go. We'll do a Geordie Journos haircut.
Well, for the summer.
Yeah, just we saw the likes of Lewis Miley, Joe Willock, Sven Botman, Fabian Schär, Jamal Lascelles, Matt Target, players who were injured.
All here, yeah.
One player we didn't see, Callum Wilson.
Oh, honestly, that totally went over my head. I didn't realise that.
Well, I didn't see him.
He was ill.
He was ill. He was too ill. Well, actually, that's another interesting thing. Eddie Howe said, feeling a bit of tightness, not 100% before the game. After the game, he said, he was ill.
I think he said he was ill and his body wasn't.
Yeah. So he wasn't.
I don't know if that includes a hamstring.
So he's ill and also feeling a bit.
He's probably ill because he's got another hamstring injury.
He's just sick of it. He's just sick of his injuries. That's his illness.
Oh, I just feel.
Callum Wilson's a weird one. We did a video last week. Newcastle must do everything to keep hold of Callum Wilson, which, as a player, yes, in a lot of ways, his qualities, Newcastle should do everything to keep hold of a quality player like Callum Wilson, but can they keep hold of a player with the reliability?
We weighed it up last week. It was, in terms of quality, Callum Wilson is one of the best.
He won't replace.
But his durability is to the point now where it's Newcastle constantly find themselves in situations where they've got one fit striker. There's even times this season when they didn't have a fit striker.
That was one of the things.
That can't continue.
No.
And look, if there's a way of keeping Callum Wilson and bringing in another striker, I would still be for that. But Newcastle cannot be in a situation next year where they've only got one fit striker. I would personally, I love Callum Wilson, but I would sacrifice Callum Wilson for having someone that plays games, because you can't continue to just have Isak by himself.
It's weird because I want to keep him so much, but I almost want him to prove it wrong. I want him just so much to get himself bloody fit. Oh my god.
That's a turnaround
what
for you.
On earth? 2 goals in 2 minutes, as you'll know.
Chelsea winning 3-2. 10 minutes left.
I shouldn't be laughing, but I'm just laughing. I'm laughing for you.
Get back on Callum Wilson.
Callum Wilson.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, you did. I know. I could feel you. I could feel you next to us thinking you need to look. Come on, Forrest.
Come on, Manchester United.
Come on, the tricky trees.
That's a reference.
That's a TikTok reference that will probably straight up around his head. What were you saying?
I was just talking about Callum Wilson and how I think they need a second fit striker. I don't think Callum Wilson's the man who's going to give you that durability over a course of the season. Unbelievable goal scorer. As I said countless times, Newcastle have probably the best 2 strikers in terms of individuals.
Yeah.
But in terms of games played, Callum Wilson's missed 24 games this season.
Has he?
24 games. And for as good as a player is, you need a player that plays games, and Callum Wilson at this moment in time doesn't play games. So it's a big frustration for him, because he's such a good player, but his fitness is a real frustration. And I'm probably speaking for all the fan base here, but when you see Callum Wilson's ruled out, the first thing is
it's an eye roll rather than a.
It's
like
again
being gutted. It's like And if you said at the start of the season Callum Wilson would miss 24 games, you'd go, I was surprised.
So is his injury record at risk of massively impacting any legacy that he has at St James's Park?
I wouldn't.
History will
I
be
wouldn't.
kind
I wouldn't
to Callum Wilson ultimately, I think.
I feel it is. Like, I feel because of the constant injuries. I mean, just think he's got 47 or 48 goals now. I mean, how many would he have if he'd actually played enough games?
Is this his worst season in a Newcastle shirt out of games he's missed? Because I know he misses games in the season, but has he missed 24 before?
He wouldn't have, just because like Champions League cup runs and things like that, which is bolstered. He didn't play a single FA Cup game, I don't think so. Yeah, that's why he's missed so many.
I'm still looking at Dom's phone and hope.
How long's left?
86.
Nah, we're not.
4 minutes left. Plus 10 minutes stoppage time.
Doesn't matter.
Well, maybe he's just have to chop it out. Doesn't matter.
So yeah, I think Callum Wilson is a player, ultimately, as frustrating as it is. How much money do you get for a player who turns 33 next season, has a year left on his contract, and an injury record like Callum Wilson, where it would actually benefit Newcastle to sell him? I don't think it is in Newcastle's best interest to sell Callum Wilson, because I don't think you could get any sort of decent money that would allow Newcastle to replace him with a player anywhere near his quality.
But is it a risk giving him a new contract?
Yes.
Because Callum Wilson would want a lengthy contract, I'd imagine. He's 32.
Yes. Well, he'd only get another year, wouldn't he?
Would he be happy with that?
Give him a 1 year.
Would he rather go somewhere else and get a guaranteed 3 years on good money?
I mean, maybe
it's up to the player. It's up to the player more than the club. If you sell Callum Wilson, how much you get from it probably isn't that much because of his injury record. But the player himself has a decision to make for his own future. He's in the twilight of his career. He's got a family to support. I feel like crying. Crying, yeah.
I'm not having that one.
No.
Bloke's on about 100 grand, man.
I know, but you want to keep.
He can support all of our families as well as his.
But he probably wants to stay on that 100 grand for as long as he can.
He's not going to get that anywhere, though, is he? That's the thing.
Unless
it
you
could
go.
be like it's a horrible comparison, like a Michael Owen situation where like a big club could come along and just have him as a third choice or second choice striker.
He doesn't want to be that though.
He wouldn't. No.
He came back from injury last week. He's demanding to take a penalty off Alexander Isak, who's taking penalties all season. It's just the mentality that he has.
He did an interview this week though. The bit that I couldn't understand about Wilson is he was all over Sky Sports, wasn't he?
Yeah, he
was all over Sky Sports talking about England scored this, England scored that, and the bloke was never going to be fit enough to play the game.
No.
Incredible, really. What we're saying. You would have reacted if it was something different.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't. You just got to do your own business.
Yes.
But I feel like because of the drop points today, that's even more significant if Chelsea win tonight.
Yeah, it puts them level on points with you.
But Chelsea they've got 2 difficult games. So they go away to Brighton on Wednesday.
Which isn't easy.
Yeah, it's their. No, it won't be their final game of the season. Line. But Brighton today, in the last 2 games, have drew here. They've beat Aston Villa, so they're a team that's starting to find a bit of form again. Bournemouth have done alright this season. I know they go to Stamford Bridge on the final day. So look, let's talk about other results.
But no, I think it does matter when you're in a final. You're in a little run, and it does matter.
Yeah, but it's just
if you win
it doesn't matter for us to talk about it in this video right now because people will be watching this knowing the result, and we're just speculating on things that people know. We're going, oh well, this could happen, but it doesn't matter.
What was the other talker? Is Isak? We've done that, haven't we?
Yeah, Isak is. Eddie House suggested he hopes both will be back for Man U, but I think with Callum Wilson, there's just never a guarantee. He's always hoping to have him back.
How can you be ill today, which is what he said, and then still be a doubt for Wednesday? Doesn't make any sense.
You can be ill for more than a few days. If you don't train, he's not here today.
Yeah, so you're right. Just illness doesn't normally keep people out more than a game, does it?
Not
when you've got the best. But I haven't got one of the best medical teams going though, have I? You know what I mean? They all looked after within an inch. I'm just left at home to sort of stew in me illness, whereas he's got the best doctors. Got the best doctors that you can find in the northeast on the books to look after him, and specialists. And at the end of a phone call, I can go anywhere and be looked after. Not the same for me when I'm.
No.
I'm sitting on the phone at 8 o'clock for half an hour trying to get through to the GP.
Sorry for outing you like that.
Who did? I didn't. Have I missed it? I've not missed a game with illness. I'm battled through.
You've been illness out.
I've been in illness out.
Well, you've come through. Whatever that noise was.
No idea.
We're getting kicked out.
The mic should pick it all up. Come on, Don. What's going on?
No. Keep talking.
What are we doing? I'm just gonna.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter.
But I'll tell you when there's a goal. We're just like.
It's not gonna happen, is it? Well, maybe we should just cut it.
I'll tell you when it's full time.
There's so much going on here at St James. We're always the last to get kicked out of this.
Yeah, well, the season's ended here at St James's. Have you enjoyed it here at least?
It's been a strange season. I think more often than not they've been decent at home. Even when they haven't been decent, they've more often than not got good results. That patch where they conceded goals for fun was a difficult watch. Kind of started. I genuinely think the AC Milan game here popped a bubble in some respects. I think it took a lot of mental, physical recovery from the disappointment of that. Everything was in their hands. It's felt like a season. You know what? If they were to miss out on Europe, it would almost just continue the narrative of a campaign full of near misses.
Yeah.
Like they were within touch and distance of getting through the last 16 in the Champions League. It was in their hands. They let it slip. It was within their hands to be into the Carabao Cup semi-final and threw it away through their own. It was Kieran Trippier that day, but it's been others on different days. And then today, does that continue the narrative? That it's in their hands and they maybe the 2 points let it slip? I still think it's obviously in their hands, but they've lost that life, as I mentioned at the start of the video.
No, they haven't. But I think generally here it's been a positive season at St James's Park. We've had some of our best moments covering the club, following the club in general. That PSG game will go down in history. I think scoring every league game here for the first time since 1959 in a top flight season anyway is very impressive. That's a nice stat. Eddie Howe said he didn't care about stats yesterday, but then when that was put to him a full time, he went, great achievement. So nice to see from him. And yeah, I think Newcastle fans have certainly had something to cheer this season, at least, because I think one of the most St James's Park has seen more goals this season than any other Premier League ground as well.
Beating everybody as well. Beating everybody, really. Liverpool would be the only one that you'd say was a massive disappointment.
Newcastle never be.
Beating Man United here, beating Man City here, beating Paris here. Beating, that wasn't me snarling at Paris, he just showed us the phone. Beating everybody, really, haven't they? Arsenal. Tottenham, smashed Tottenham, didn't we?
Yeah.
So now there's been some really positive results. There's been a lot of goals. A lot of goals here at St James's Park. It's that little period that things slipped that was probably a disappointment, like from Forest onwards. Forest, they were poor, and then the 4 goals they conceded against Luton, and there was loads of little iffy games. Bournemouth.
But that's where Newcastle, if Newcastle don't get Europe, that's probably where they lost it in a lot of ways. Those points dropped today. I mean,
it's not a bad result, really, is it? Like a draw against Brighton, who aren't a million miles behind them, isn't a bad result, really, in the grand scheme of things. Drawing at home to Luton is a team who are already. Are they actually relegated? May as well be. That's your disappointment. The results against the teams at the bottom, not the bottom 2, but the teams around that. Luton getting beat here against Forest, Everton taking 1 point off Everton over 2 games. It's those poor runs of form against the teams who've struggled that's probably going to be where they have let a position or 2 in the Premier League slip, and whether that's enough for them to miss out or scrape in or get in comfortably to Europe. We just don't know how the final 2 games are going to play out, but we do know how this one's playing out. Still not finished.
It's all right.
Let's just cut it, and then if Forest do score, and they will cut away another shot of us. Well, you celebrating.
We'll cut now, and then we'll come back at full time and go, this was the full time score. It's currently 3-2.
Or we'll just come back if Forest get a.
Or we don't even have to come back. It's probably going to end 3-2, isn't it, to Chelsea?
Yeah. See that.
Disaster.
You can't rely on anybody else. You've got to do your own business.
That's the lesson.
And ultimately, that's what Newcastle United didn't do today. They didn't come here for 1 point. They came for 3. And although it isn't the worst result in the world, it also isn't good enough to ensure that they have a firm grasp on making sure they get into Europe next season. Right.
Fair enough.
I think we'll just cut the lot.
Yeah.
We'll come back. You say like, share, subscribe, and then at the end, if Forest do end up scoring, we'll just cheer it then.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's not happening.
It's not.
Right, you'll see it up here, 4 Rivers. That's the sponsor for the Geordie Journos. It's been another action-packed video. Do check out the live as well if you want to have a little bit of interaction. There was lots of people getting involved in the conversation there, but do like, comment, share and subscribe for all your Geordie Journos content.